strategy, you have to do an end run around your formal constitutional practices. You have no choice if you want to keep this secret. And in fact, this is exactly what has happened. Students, mainstream students of the black budget world, and in fact there are a precious few of them anyway, really overlook the critical importance of the UFO phenomenon in the creation of the black budget world that we have today. I wouldn't say UFOs are the only contributing factor, but I would say they are very important and typically almost always overlooked. But in fact, it's the UFO secret right out of the gate in the Cold War that absolutely required the creation of an extra-legal, extra-constitutional secrecy apparatus. And so what we have are a few studies, not many, a few good studies, on the true black budget world of the United States. One from about a decade ago by aviation writer Bill Sweetman. He wasn't a UFO guy, he's an aerospace aviation guy with a very strong interest in the classified world. Estimated back then that there were about 150 special access programs, the quintessential primordial black budget programs, within the Department of Defense. He said, my own investigation tells me that there's essentially no oversight, at least from Congress, zero effective oversight. And many of these special access programs were, quote, unacknowledged, end quote. In other words, they didn't exist, except, of course, they did exist. The other thing, he noticed that their classification systems were utterly independent of each other. So if I were running one of these programs, I would decide how the secrecy actually functions. In other words, I would decide who's in, who's out. If there was a three-star general on my team, but I didn't want him to know certain things, he doesn't know. If a friend that I grew up with, who happened to be a private contractor, and I want him in, he's in. And that's the other part. Private contractors, not Defense Department personnel, tended to dominate these in Sweetman's analysis. And he had no idea how they got their money. More recently, the Washington Post last summer came out with a multi-part series on secrecy within the U.S. intelligence community, which shocked the hell out of me because it's Washington Post, which I've always seen as one of the mainstream